And the first thing I do is, what's the plan? Like, cause like plan and budgets. The budget tells us how fast we can go. The plan tells us where we're going. And if
Yes.
you do not have those, you're just going to be you're going to be wasting your time and money. And
Mm.
I tell people that. And, I've spent over $1 million on myself through personal development, growth, and stuff like that. And no one ever put the emphasis on a budget and a plan. And I won't even work with people today if they don't have a budget and plan because it's frantic, it's reactionary, and then I get blamed for everything. And so I've just learned it over the years. It's like you cannot create anything. Literally, I'm gonna go have dinner here tonight. I was like, okay, budget and a plan. Where are we going? Who am I going with? How much can we spend? Every decision is involves a budget and a plan, but we
Yes,
won't
sir.
do it for our life.
You're absolutely right. That's so funny. I do some credit repair, and part of the consultations, I ask people if they have a budget. And a lot of times they're like, "What's a budget?" What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Coach's Corner. And today I have Zach Oehlman. He basically takes businesses, he buys them, he scales them, and from what I've read, he does a little coaching too. So I'm excited to have him on. He's going to share his story and how he can help you grow. As we move into 2025, you want to align yourself with people who are moving forward and upward. So glad to have you with us, Zach. Why don't you tell your story and tell everybody how you got here?
Yeah, thanks for having me, friend.
Sure.
My story started on a farm in Northwest Indiana, right?
Like
And
Superman.
right, right. It's like I was a farm kid, and I didn't want to do anything other than farm. My dad died when I was 12. I took over the farm, hated school, and then I graduated, and it was a reality check. It's like, well, what am I going to do with my life? And I didn't really have any mentors, and so I asked, other than my mom. My mom is my true mentor. Oh my gosh! And so she said, I think you should go to college, Zach. And I picked up a book on finance, and I started reading about finance, and I fell in love with finance, and went to school for finance, and graduated in 2008 when everything was a mess in the financial markets. Worked 2 years for free, driving back and forth from Chicago, eating peanut butter and jellies in a car with no AC. Had to put air in it every day, like, true. Like, my mom was still like giving me money, and I was just like trying to figure out life. And then finally got a job working for financial firm, consulting firm. Parlayed that into working for one of the best companies in the world. Became a published author. Had every bell and whistle you could think of, and I quit because it wasn't filling me. I wasn't fulfilled in it. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to help people, and I wanted to make a lot of money. And I was making good money, but not like the seven-figure type I wanted. And so I took that and went into real estate investing, created a community of real estate investors where I was coaching and every day for 15 years, coaching people, helping them in their careers. And we started masterminds. And so I grew a community of over 1,000 people there. And then I sat on the board of the education company we sold, which was 30,000 people. And then I got burned out on it. And so I said, you know what? I want to do this same concept, but I want to do it with businesses.
Mm.
And so that's where we ended up today. So today we help people start, scale, sell businesses and reinvest that money back into real estate. Still a coach slash consultant. We have the done for you, we have the done with you, and then I've given it all away. So what I used to sell for 20 grand, the content material, we just give it all away, and really looking to help people out there that are just trying to figure their life out too.
All right, great. All right. Sounds like you got a full plate there. Uh,
Yeah.
what are some lessons you learned going through the process of kind of, it looks like you figured out what your real true passion was. What were some of the lessons going forward that maybe you can pass along so people can speed through that journey? Because we always hear these stories of people waking up in their 40s and 50s and go, oh, I finally figured out what I want to do. What are some ways
Right.
people can streamline that process to find their passion?
I would start with asking, what do you want? I literally paid a coach $8,000. I didn't know what they were going to do, right? It was like, hey, create your future type thing. And all she did was ask me what I want every week for 30 minutes for a year.
Yeah, I would have got out of that program.
And it was like, I'm telling you, it was hard. It was like, what do you want? Who's there? What's this? What's that? And I was like, my brain wouldn't even work. Because I didn't I like all the creativity closed off, right? And it took me like 3 months to like actually have it like start flowing. And then
Hmm.
it was just like I just started creating life by design.
Sure.
That's how I met my wife. That's how I bought and sold my first business. Is I spoke it and I wrote it down on a piece of paper.
So you followed the
And
plan.
right. And so today I have people pay me a lot of money. And the first thing I do is what's the plan? Cause like plan and budgets. The budget tells us how fast we can go. The plan tells us where we're going. And
Yes.
if you do not have those, you're going to be wasting your time and money. And
Mm.
I tell people that. And, I've spent over $1 million on myself through personal development, growth, and stuff like that. And no one ever put the emphasis on a budget and a plan. And I won't even work with people today if they don't have a budget and plan because it's frantic, it's reactionary, and then I get blamed for everything. And so I've just learned it over the years. It's like you cannot create anything. Literally, I'm gonna go have dinner here tonight. I was like, okay, budget and a plan. Where are we going? Who am I going with? How much can we spend? Every decision involves a budget and a plan, but we
Yes,
won't
sir.
do it for our life.
You're absolutely right. That's so funny. I do some credit repair, and part of the consultations, I ask people if they have a budget. And a lot of times they're like, "What's a budget?" And I
What's a
think
budget?
some people have a concept like, "Well, I make this much and I spend this much." But really putting it together and seeing it on paper really is an eye opener when you really can see where your money's going.
It's that in itself, just looking at it, be like, oh, the presence of it just says you don't have to do anything special. It's like spend less because now I know what I'm spending it on.
Exactly. And they have apps and stuff now too. So the world is much simpler. You can figure
Right.
out what you're spending and where your money's going really easy now. So it's not as like the old days where you had to remember, what did I spend that money on? Now the apps track, the bank accounts will do it for you. So it's
I've
interesting.
so I've learned another thing is we could have all that stuff ready because I've done it. I put the budgets and then people are so resistant to it. They're so resistant to it. And I've learned it's fear, right? They're afraid of their finances. They don't even want to look at it. I've done this for them. I've spent 15 years coaching people, like poor to rich to everything buddy you could think of. The vast majority of people don't want to deal with their finances,
Yeah.
and it's because they're afraid of it. And so that's where I took the next one of the many next lessons is emotional intelligence. Like
Mm.
we
Break
have
that
to.
down a little bit.
So there was this brilliant quote that says 85% of your success is contributed to your emotional intelligence,
Mm.
not your IQ, but your EQ. And I'm a prime example of that. I used to be smart. No, I was, I was very smart intellectually. I worked for one of the best companies in the world, took on all the hardest projects, but I was the most socially awkward person you could ever probably meet. I broke out in sweats when I was around people. I stuttered, I stammered, my mind would go blank. I joined my first mastermind, paid 20 grand for it. I didn't talk to anybody for 3 years. I would just show up, and when someone came to me, I would act like I was on a phone because I didn't even know how to socialize with rich people. And I had, all these old things in me, like that program me to be that way. And I just started. I've lived in the world of personal development for the last 15 years,
Mhm.
and taken on the fear of talking to people, the fear of going on a podcast with a guy you just met, talk like that would scare the bejeebers out of the old Zach.
Yeah.
And it's just like it has allowed me to be better at sales and marketing to make the money that I wanted. And I thought finance was it. I was like, oh, I know finance. How come I'm not rich? Oh, because you don't know how to talk to people. And if you don't know how to talk to people, you can't provide value. So,
Yeah, okay, so that's is very common with a lot of people who do public speaking, who do self-development and teach. What were some steps that you do to overcome that? I mean, how do you get out of being shy and being uncomfortable around people?
it's You just do it. There's no other, it's like I've traveled the world. I've lived in 24 countries in the last four
Wow.
years. And I've learned this is it, like the summary of it. You look fear in the eye and you just walk forward. There's no other way. Now there's books and stuff out there. I've read tons of books. I've been through tons of programs. But at the end of the day, when you go through a book or read a book or go through a program, you're all they're helping you do is identify the fear,
Mhm.
right? And for example, like I was a number two out of 30,000 in a direct sales company. Like I was sort of somebody in that community and I left. And it took me 3 years to get the courage to do it. Right. And I've had to fire people. Oh my gosh. Right. I don't want to fire people. That's scary. I had to fire people. Right. I've had to do all of these, big people moves that if it, or I don't, but if I don't, I know what the outcome is. It's the same life over and over and over again.
Yes, sir.
I uh I was in a personal development program and she asked me, what do I want? And I said, I want to travel the world, help people make money. Those are my three things. She goes, where have you traveled to? And I said, Arizona, from Indiana, right? To Arizona. And um, she said, well, I want to challenge you to buy a ticket to somewhere out of the country by our next coaching call.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And so I bought a ticket to Vietnam, flew there for 2 days, and came back. And it was like popping the bubble, just like go. And I went, and I came back, and I go, that was easy. Like
Mhm.
what? Why did I wait so long for this? Then I bought a ticket to Puerto Rico. I bought a ticket to Costa Rica. I met my wife in Puerto Rico, and it was just like life. If you got the courage to push through it, life happens for you.
Yeah, I agree. All right, I agree. So, when did you decide, like, hey, I really am good at what I'm doing? I think I can help others. When was that breakthrough?
Can you hold on one sec? I got somebody at my door.
Sure.
Sorry about that. They
No,
keep
you're good.
ringing.
Ah, all right, we're back. Go ahead, Zach. Pick up where you left
So
off,
so
man.
the first time, um, man, that's a tough one. The first time I decided to help, or I thought I could help somebody,
Yes.
I think it was when I was a kid, like 16, 18 years old. I just remember working on the farm and I would work myself up like emotionally. I'm like, I'm here to serve people.
Hmm.
I don't, I don't know what, but I feel like called to serve people. And then, we grew up very, I don't want to say poor, right? Because there's, I've seen poor, right? And, we worked hard for our money. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
And money was always an issue between my mom and dad, the fights and the stuff like that. So I said, you know what? I want to learn money. I want to learn finance. And I grew up in a blue collar town, a bunch, we're all farm kids. And I had my friends would come up to me and they said, Zach, can you explain this to me? And it was their retirement accounts because they all went to jobs, and I was about the only one of my friends that went to college. And I'm just like, man, these guys deserve better than this, right? They're working their butts off and someone's making money on them and they won't even take the time to serve them. And I said, I'm going to do something about that. I remember that. That was sort of my calling. And I said the same thing about my mom. I was like, my mom's taking care of me. Like, she's never going to have to want for money again. Right. And I didn't know what that meant at the time, but I just knew it was how I wanted to serve the world was figure out finances.
Mhm.
So yeah, I was probably 16, 18 years old.
Wow. Who was your first client or first person you interacted with?
So I didn't actually start serving people until I was older, but that was the
Okay.
first time uh my first client, I was probably 27, 28. I just joined this real estate investing community where it taught people how to invest in real estate. And, I was still, I think by then, this is a great question because I have to reflect. I think I was still about me. I
Mhm.
was like, I want to make money so I can live my life and get out of whatever into whatever. And the servant, like the I'm here to serve the world, actually I'd say went into account once I quit my that six-figure job.
Hmm.
And I moved to Arizona. I said, all right, I'm going to start a community, and we're just going to open the doors up, whoever wants to come. And that was probably maybe 29, 30 years old.
Very
Um, yeah.
good. Okay. That's impressive. Uh, when you are scaling a business, what is something you look for to see if you or that business would be a good fit for your company? What do you look for? What kind of attributes does that company have to have?
Yeah, so my ideal avatar is service-based business, 20 million and below, founder-led CEO. I want to be able to like fast. I like moving fast. I like making decisions. Um, and then I'm looking for, is it actually serving people? Like, I'm not here just to sell stuff. I've seen so many people that are here to sell stuff, and nothing wrong with it. It just doesn't, like, I'm not going to put my superpower behind that, right? I want to actually make a difference in the world, and have my, that's why I love service-based businesses. It's something I can get behind,
Mm,
if I like the service. And so I want to make sure the offer's good, like whatever they're selling, they're good, that I can get behind it because I'm a cheerleader, right? If I we have four portfolio businesses right now, and I'm the biggest cheerleader of them because I was a client of theirs. Like, I bought it, I was like, this is life changing. Who,
mhm,
how can we bring this to the world? So, and then I look, can I work with the founder? Can I
mm,
work with the founder CEO? Are they willing to invest in their personal development, in their
mm,
emotional development? Are they a team player? Are, are they, can they go the distance? And because this is tough. This is the toughest thing I've ever done in my life. And people say, oh, business ownership, everyone needs that. No, it's tough, but at the same time, it's the most rewarding thing I've done it ever. And so it's just about, sticking to it.
mm. Now, you a one-man shop, or do you have a bunch of other consultants with you?
Oh, we're my entire team's probably 60, about 60
Wow.
people. So I've what I've done is I've created a business model. It's called Finance, Operations, Sales, and Marketing, FASM. And I the same processes I've used to scale my business and remove myself from it. So I've scaled four multi-million dollar businesses. I just documented it, and
Hmm.
then that's what we come in and we implement. And
Gotcha.
so, my team knows my process, my team knows my softwares, my team knows what's next. And we create a budget and a plan. And then, have you ever heard of EOS? So we implement EOS around the my budget and the plan, and then I just give it to an integrator, and I say,
Mhm.
"Go make this happen. I'm gonna go find the next business."
Very cool. So
Yeah.
you were traveling to these 24 countries. Was it strictly for travel, or were you actually going there to deal with other businesses in other countries?
It was travel. And so COVID happened. I was
Mhm.
running a office out of Phoenix, Arizona. We had about 200 to 300 people every Wednesday night running masterminds. Every Saturday, we'd go out to a property, a real estate investment property, and do an overview. This is how we found it. This is the numbers on it. If you want to join our community, join us on Wednesday. That was my repeat for 5 years. And then COVID came and we moved everything online. And I was just sitting in my apartment. We just moved into this beautiful apartment downtown Phoenix. And as soon as we moved in, everything shut down. And I looked at my wife. It was probably 2, 3, 4 months into it. We haven't left the house, right? And I was like, we don't have to be here. It was like an awakening. And I was like, what countries can we go visit?
Yeah,
And no country was open. Hawaii was open. So we
right.
went to Hawaii for 3 or 4 months.
That's not a
And
bad deal, Zach, by the way.
all
Going to
right.
Hawaii for 4 months.
Yeah. So we went to Hawaii for 4 months, loved it. And we came back to Phoenix and we said, okay, let's go again. Let's go international though. Colombia was open. And so Colombia was like one of the only places open. And so we came down here and, COVID was the shutdowns. It was still back and forth. But we made it work. Lived here for 4 months, went to Peru, made that work. And while we were in Colombia, our lease expired. and we just paid somebody to move it into storage. And
Mm,
so I haven't been home since. That was 4 years ago, going on 4 years ago. I mean, I've been home. I think I've been to the United States probably five, 10 times over the last 4 years.
mm.
But we've just, what's the next country? What's the next country? What's the next country?
What excites you about meeting other cultures when you travel, and how do you implement that into your training and coaching?
It's fun, right? Because we're all different. But if we pull back far enough, we're all the same,
Absolutely, 100%.
right? And it's like the human being is the same,
Yes.
right? And so, I love hanging out with tribes. And just like I have a friend, a Maasai tribesman. His mom was the first woman to own land in the Maasai culture. And we're paying for his college right now. And he's a dear friend of mine. And it's like he's gonna take me on a walkabout where he's walking his cattle and we have to fight off animals. Like that's the stuff I love to do.
Mhm.
And in that I can see, I've spent time with tribes all over the world, and the commonality is they all want something, right? As a human being. And the humanness is the same everywhere we go, right? The fears and the anxieties and the wanting to be liked and, all of that. So that has really helped me from a coaching standpoint. Um, just understand people.
Mhm.
And I'm not necessarily dealing uh, w- uh, I'm dealing with the same person. It's just like, what's your rules in your society that are different,
Mhm.
right? And so if we can understand what it means to be a human being, we can help people get through all of that stuff that we create as humans to get in our own way.
Mhm. So from listening to you, I'm hearing a lot of mindset. You
Oh
in your
yeah,
coaching. Talk a little bit about your approach to mindset, because all of this is in your mind. Like we talked previously about,
totally.
being afraid to do something, and it's in your head, a lot of times.
Yeah, so I've been through so much development, and the one of the profound programs I went through was called the Landmark Forum.
No, okay, familiar.
I, Yeah, and I spent 4 years in it,
Mhm.
and so it's a weekend program. It's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday thing, and then once you go through that, that's like the front door. Then you can go in multiple directions, and that was the first time I ever was like, there. This is the way. Like I have to work on myself,
Mhm.
and it was profound. And then I just kept being in the work, and what I got out of it is we make up stories. I mean, that's what they teach actually, is we make up stories. It's like, what happened? What did you make it mean? And the what we made it mean is what brings the stress and the anxiety and the frustration and the I'm not whatever, the disempowerment.
Mhm.
What happened is just what happened.
Right.
And if we can separate those two, it's a totally different world.
Mhm.
And so, a lot of that just separating the story from what happened. And as I've gotten older and I would say more wise, I've and I'll say this is a bold statement, right? Is I'm looking at God, right? It's like, well, how does God play into this? And so I grew up in my first coach ever. I hired him. I was working in my W-2 job. I was miserable. I was drinking every night, smoking cigarettes, working like a dog, man, like just trying to get ahead in life. And I was just absolutely miserable.
Mhm.
And they're like, you got to come. Del Hargis is talking. And I was like, who is this guy? They're like, it's personal development. I was like, what is that? And I didn't even know, right? Because I'm a small town farm kid that was just told to work it out and work harder and, that type of stuff. And that's what I was doing, but it wasn't working. And he came and he did this like presentation thing, like a full day. And I sat through, and at the end there was and I literally was at the front row crying for 4 hours. And I was like, oh, this is the door out of my own hell. And I got on a coaching call with him, and he's like, what do you want? Why do you hire me? Like, sort of setting the intention. And this is what I told him. I said, I don't believe in God, but I want to go to heaven. There's 11 churches in my town. I don't know what to do. Like, because religion in my where I grew up was like such a, don't do this and do that and don't do this and do that. And I was just trying to figure out life. And so I sort of pushed away from quote unquote religion.
Hmm.
And, as over the last couple of years, I'm like, oh, God and religion are two different things.
True.
And so I'm a big believer in God. That doesn't mean uh, I believe in religion. And I just very clear on that because some people sort of collapse those two. And
Exactly.
how I explain God is, well, that's my personal conversation with Him. I don't need anyone else to tell me what to do, tell me how to talk to Him, tell me how to be with that. And I've really taken on pushing through fear, and so I've trained myself to hunt down fear and just go for it and have those conversations. And I promote or attribute a lot of that to my conversation with God,
Mm.
right? Having helping me have that courage to do it.
See, how big of a role does your family play in your business? How intertwined is the family in the business?
Um, my wife works with me. Like we've grown this thing together.
Oh, okay.
Outside of that, we don't have any kids. We don't, we kids are the most important things to us. We can't have kids, and so they're one of the reasons why, right? We've hit our quote unquote financial goals, and so now it's like now what? And so we want to grow our businesses to fund children. Like I'm actually working with a group down here. You ever heard of the movie called Sound of Freedom?
Yes.
Right. So the executive producer of that, Paul and Vanessa, they actually live down here, and I'm getting to know them and really see what they're about. And I love their organization. They just do amazing work, and so I want to contribute a portion of my income to everything I make to them, and we're working on that for 2025.
That's awesome. Yeah. What
Yeah.
is the name of your company, Zach?
It is Learn and Grow Rich.
Learn and Grow Rich. All right. So we're at the tail end of this year, 2024.
Yeah.
What is the best advice you would give someone from your, so this is a two-part question. So from something that went really well and something that didn't go as well as planned. Give yourself or give a listener your take on that. Those two.
What goes really well and really bad?
Yeah, this year for you. And you don't have to get all the details, but give me.
Yeah. And so at the beginning of the year, I ended a 12-year business relationship. That was really hard.
How did you navigate that? Because that's a good point, not to cut you off, but a lot of people are thinking about getting out of their 9 to 5s, their corporate jobs. And that's one of the fears. Like, how do I end this relationship? I've been with this company forever. So how would you navigate that?
So I would say this is a great one. Before you quit your job, make sure you understand what you're jumping into. Because
Yeah.
most people don't, man. I didn't. I wish I wanted to quit my job as early as I did. I had a great life. I was hanging around people that told me I wasn't having a great life. They're like, "Oh, you need to be an entrepreneur. You need to be a business owner. Quit that job." And today I'm the complete opposite. I'm like, use your job to quit your job.
Yes.
And so, right? And so I'm a big believer. Are you familiar with the cash flow quadrant?
Absolutely. Robert Saki.
All right, so here's how I see this. And this, if you're listening to this, this will change your life. And I wish somebody would have told me this because it took me 20 years to sort of figure this out. And that's I ended up back there. And so a job is to develop your skill set. A self-employed position is to sell that skill set. A business owner is the systematization of the selling of the skill set. And I look at it, 15 years later, I'm back in the world of finance. I'm just selling it now. And I have a business that sells it,
Mhm.
right? I have an entire team. But what I did is I developed myself in a skill set and then I left that to go do something completely different.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and the learning curve was so, and I see people like that. I see people making 150, 200, 300, $400,000 and they want to quit that to go do real estate. And I was like, you have no idea what's on the other side of that fence. I said, why
Mhm.
don't you use your job to invest in real estate and then quit your job? Or why don't you use your job to make some money and get some experience and some skill sets to go start a business or buy a business? Like use it as a tool, not as this thing that is a hindrance to you.
Hmm.
Because I remember when I hired that first coach, all he did was complain about my job. I was like, this, that's that. And he got so sick and tired of me. He woke me up. He confronted me and he goes, Zach, I'm so sick and tired of hearing about you, blah, 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 complain about your job. He goes, why don't you just quit? And I was like, well, I can't. And he goes, exactly. Be grateful for the job. And dude, he busted me up hard. And I was so confronted. It felt like my head was going to pop off because I was like, my ego, and I was just, all this stuff. But I was paying this guy and I've never been talked to like that before. And I was like, okay, take it. This is what it looks like. 5 minutes later, I got personal responsibility.
Hmm.
I got connected. I was like, oh, I'm responsible for him. Like, just I can, I could say I want to leave, and that's what I did. I went and found another job. Yeah. So that sort of roll it back to answer your question. Create a plan to leave your job. Create a plan. So it took me 3 years to position myself to leave that business
Huh?
because I was a dude at the front of the room in front of the stages. I was number two out of 30,000 people. I was sort of the guy or one of the guys, right? It was a big company. And so there's people that bought into it because of me. And I was like, I'm not just going to leave. My word means something. And so I resigned from the board of directors. Uh, I went from on stage to in the front row, right? It's like, yeah, I'm still here, guys. I went from the front row to the back of the room, and I went from the back of the room to where is Zach?
Mm.
And I kept my promise with everybody. So I still host, I still support all the people that joined me in my business, and I just sort of parlayed that into what I'm doing now. And so I got to keep my word, and I got to get out of that, and I got to move on to the next thing.
Awesome. So you're a true entrepreneur, man. You started from scratch. You learned from your mistakes. You got coaching. How valuable is coaching? And what would you say to someone who's sitting on the fence about getting a mentor or coach or getting in some training, like you mentioned, learning about something you want to do? I think people think I'm just going to buy a business and that's all I need to do, especially if it's a profitable business, instead of learning anything to keep it.
I would say if you don't have a coach, good luck. Like you're not gonna get it. Like I mean, you're obviously very into health and fitness, right? It's like there's no different. Like I need the biggest coach you're gonna need. The more money you make, the the more it transitions from tactical, practical to emotional,
Mm.
right? Because I know what to do. Just keep doing the thing and doing the thing and like keep lifting the weight or keep do the action. But then you start making money and then you have to hire teams. Now you got to deal with people.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I'm really good at me. I'm really good at me. But people, and so I really worked on myself. And then I had to focus working on my team because I'm very good at Zach. And so my leadership skills. And that was it's all emotional coaching. And you can't see it. Because if you could see it, you would deal with it.
Yeah.
And so in the world that I hire coaches to show me what I don't see. And like I remember one day I
Hey.
was getting ready to launch one of my businesses, and I was on my call with one of my coaches, and I was like, "Man, I feel like I'm on the runway. I got this thing hammered down in this proverbial plane. All the instruments look good, weather's good, and I'm about to pull up and fly this thing." My response to her or my question to her was, "What don't I see?"
I like that.
Yeah, what do I see? And so, I think in the coaching world, you have to make sure you align with the coach.
Hmm.
My coach, most people would cry on a call with her. I give her full permission to coach me.
Hmm.
And my ego wants to rise up and argue with her. I'm just like, put it down. Put it like she's the only one in my life that I fully surrender to
Hmm.
because I want it. I want it so bad. And most people cry with her, but she's a high performance coach. That's her title. And so I want to be a high performer. And
Right.
she treats me like that. Not everyone's ready for that. I would not have been ready for that when I first started. And so I would say find a coach that matches what you need developed in.
Yeah.
Because I've paid $1,000 for an hour, $1,000 an hour for a coach before. And it was a waste of money
Yeah.
because I wasn't ready for what they had. I wasn't ready for what they had. Are they valuable? Absolutely. They coach some of the biggest people in the world, but I wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
And so it was a waste of money for me.
Yeah.
And
The ability to implement and act on what you're being told, you're wasting your money.
right, right, totally. And so I would say get a coach, but make sure the coach aligns with what you want to get developed in. And I would say the first thing you need to get developed in is understanding what you want out of this life.
Yeah.
Like where are you? Where do you want to go? And once you get that, then the coach can actually get you somewhere. Without a destination, we're just like what point is a coach?
Mhm.
Like I want to be the best. The best at what? Like I want to make this. Why? Like really once you get that, then you can find a coach that can get you there.
Yeah. So Zach, where do you want to go? You've been 24 countries. Where else do you want to go? And is there some specific spot you haven't seen that you're really crazy about?
I want to travel every country in the world, man. And I want to do it on a motorcycle. And so I'm getting ready to ride my motorcycle from Alaska to Argentina.
Wow.
Um yeah.
How
And
many miles is that?
I think it's 30,000 kilometers. 19,000 miles maybe.
Mm.
Yeah.
How
So
long
it's
does that take?
uh, the record is 34 days.
Okay.
I'm gonna try doing it in 32.
Man,
Just be just because I'm
how many
like
times did the original person stop and take a break?
I don't know. He's done it. He's a world renowned motorcycle guy. Like he just rides and rides and rides. He's an
Long
older
time to
guy.
be on the bike, 34 days.
34. It's gonna be but I'm doing it for as a promotion for one of my the foundations, and it's called For You and the Kids.
Mhm.
And it's like to teach kids that they can do whatever they want. Because I quit dreaming, man. I gave up. I was like, I'm gonna, I'm and then someone inspired me, and I was like, you know what? I can have anything I want.
Mhm.
And that little spark, right? And I want people to know they can have whatever they want. And guess what? It's gonna be tough. And that's why I want to put myself through some toughness. Like I've gone out into like the Amazon with for survival. I'm like, take me out to the Amazon. I want to survive. I want to do a survival course. So we just went out there for 3 days in the Brazilian Amazon. I had two guides there because they didn't offer this. This isn't like something you can buy off the internet. I said, make it up. I'll pay you. Like, and then it was so fun. But it's like the toughness. It's like for me, it's I want to make sure my mental toughness is there,
Yeah.
and right, and it's because it's all mental toughness. And
Yes.
like I remember one of the scariest moments of my life was when I was in the Amazon, and these guys, I mean, they grew up in the Amazon. They're like tribesmen, and it's a full moon, like midnight, and we're spotlighting crocodiles, caimans, and they're catching these guys with their hands and holding them up, and I'm like, that's cool. Can I do that? He goes, yeah, yeah. Let me show you how. And so we got one. We got right in front of it. I'm down on my belly. He's sitting right next to me. He's like, all right. He's coaching me, right? And I'm sitting there, and this caiman's right in front of me, and my hand will not move. My brain's going, do it. You got this. Right? And I just shut my eyes. I let out this huge like battle cry, and I went for it. And I opened my eyes. I'm like, oh, I'm holding a caiman, like that I just caught out of the Amazon. And he didn't believe I did it because like no one else, no like gringo, touristy guys ever done this.
Yeah.
And that was like one of the, taking on fear. And then I went and I spoke in front of 1,500 people about this.
Mm.
Because that's why I went on the 3 day survival trip to talk about how you deal with fear. So I had to go face some of it, right? And then I just talked about how I faced it. And I'm like, the only way through it is through it. There's not there's not any courage you're gonna find. You just got to do it.
Yeah, I like that. Well, Zach, man, you've been awesome, and thanks for sharing your story. Where can people find you if they want to get coaching or have you take a look at their business?
Yeah, so I give all my master classes away for free forever, right? So all my content I give We have four masterminds currently right now. We have a money mastermind, a wholesale mastermind, a social media mastermind, and a what we call Framework Friday mastermind. All free. My software is free. All of that can be found at learnandgrowrich.net. And then if you want to schedule a call with me, get in there. My team operates, we're working in there. If you think you're ready for a conversation with me, reach out to my team. They'll talk you through it. And if you are ready for a call with me, we'll get you on a call. Absolutely free consultations, and see what we can really create together.
That's awesome. All right, we'll definitely do that. We'll make sure that's in the show notes. Zach, I appreciate your time, man. And God, you have traveled quite a bit. You've beat me by many things. I've traveled all over the states, but not the world like that. That is definitely something I want to do, and it's on my bucket list. So
Let's make it happen, man.
yeah, I know, right? You got to just make it happen. Talking about it is not going to
Buy
get
the ticket. That's what
you.
my coach said. Zach, just go buy the ticket.
Buy the ticket. Yep. All right, everybody. We'll be back next week with another coach. We'll see you next week.